Today is February 17th. I'm Derek Fildebrandt, publisher of the Western Standard, and you're watching The Pipeline. Thank you very much for joining us on this beautiful, crisp February day. I'm joined today also by Western Standard news editor Dave Naylor. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well, Derek, and I think I've got all my notifications turned off this week. So let's hope it works.
We don't want to call you the dinger, so we're hoping that's so. And also joined by Western Standard podcast editor and columnist extraordinaire Cory Morgan. Good day, Cory.
Good day.
Well, today we're going to be talking about the details that have been revealed about the federal government's gun grab, so-called buyback, as strange as that term is. We'll be talking about the gun grab and the details that are coming and the reaction of Western governments to the gun grab. We'll talk about the never-ending ball drop that has been Ottawa's vaccine procurement. I know many of you have heard of this story before, but it just keeps on evolving and keeps getting worse. Canada is now ranked with some of the most incompetent governments in the world, far outside, not just the G7, not just the G20. We're right down with some of the worst of them. We'll be talking about the big ball drop that has been Ottawa's vaccine crisis. And we'll also be talking about the BC karaoke crackdown. Crack might be okay, but karaoke not. We'll be talking about that in some of the latest COVID madness that's taking place. But first, just an update for everyone. Those of you who are already Western Standard members or subscribing to the newsletter, you've probably already received an update about your membership. If you haven't, check your junk mail. It'll be in there. As many of you are aware, we have put in place a soft paywall. We allow for quite a few free reads every month from everybody. But the Western Standard, as I am keen of reminding everyone every single episode, at least once, probably more, we do not accept government subsidies, and we require, we have to operate as a business, which means we don't ask the government for money. We ask paying customers for money. And that's why we're encouraging membership by putting in place a soft paywall. We still want everybody to read us. We want everybody to share us. But for people who are reading a lot of Western content every month, we are now putting in place stronger incentives for people to become members. If you're already a Western Standard member and you haven't already done so, you have to go to westernstandardonline.com/login, put in the password where you originally signed up for your membership, and put in the email that you did for your membership, and do a password reset, and that will help you. You'll get an email to set up your new password. You'll have complete access to the Western Standard's website and our content. If you're already a member, you need to make sure you're on the new system. Otherwise, you're going to hit the paywall. And if you're a member, you shouldn't be hitting the paywall. We want to help you get through that and make sure that you are enjoying the full benefits of your membership. If you are not yet a member, I've been nagging you all for a long time to become members. And now we're nagging you a little bit harder. We would strongly encourage you to go to westernstandardonline.com/membership. Sign up for a membership. You'll get the first 15 days for free. And if you're watching this show, I'm sure you'll agree that it's important to have independent Western media content, not owned or operated by people globally or in Eastern Canada. That's it for the bureaucratic update. Well, actually, no, we have one more other update. As we continue to spread our wings and attain some financial viability as an organization here, we've had some advertisers, and we have quite a few advertisers on the website already, but our first advertiser on this show is Kiransway.com. Kiransway.com is a therapeutic masseuse in Calgary, Alberta. It's an incredible business. Some of the best service you can get for massage therapy in southern Alberta. This is something you can still do with lockdowns. The lockdowns are easing up a little bit. But through it all, you could still go see a massage therapist. I know a lot of you are going absolutely nuts. I'm going nuts. My back hurts sitting in a chair all day. And everybody working at home right now, I'm sure feels the same way. So make sure you support a Western Standard sponsor here, sponsor of today's broadcast, kiransway.com. Go there, sign up. You can book your massage online or call them, and support a great Western business that's supporting the Western Standard. Okay, well, now that that's out of the way, we're going to go to the fun stuff here. The latest in the Trudeau gun grab, details revealed in a new piece of legislation tabled, I believe, just this week. Dave, why don't you give our viewers an update on what is in this bill?
Yeah, the legislation was tabled on Tuesday, Derek, and I think what's perhaps one of the biggest news item is what's not contained in the bill, and that's any details about the $1 billion automatic weapon buyback program, the gun buyback program. No details on that announced.
Well, I guess I have to correct you. There's no automatic gun buyback because automatic guns have been illegal in Canada since the 60s. These are the assault style or military style guns. These are normally just semi-automatics. I don't mean to be pedantic here, but I always just got to make sure we're clear on this. Automatic guns have been illegal for civilian ownership since the 1960s. An exemption might be if your great-grandpa brought something back from a war, you might have a special license, but you essentially can't use it. But yeah, this is for guns that simply look scary. They might look like a military gun, but they are very clearly not military guns. Sorry to interrupt you, Dave, but I just know we're going to get roasted in the comments section if we're not clear on that point.
No worries, Derek. You're the gun expert. No details on the buyback program announced whatsoever. They say that it will be coming in, excuse me, in the upcoming months. Experts have said this has got the potential to be $1 billion boondoggle. And the way the government handles these type of things, it probably will become. Some of the new details that were announced is the government's going to introduce a new flagging system, red flags and yellow flags, so concerned friends and relatives can go to the court if someone's feeling suicidal or making threats or something like that. They can go to the courts, and the courts can order those guns removed. They're going to take more aim at gun smuggling and trafficking. They're going to increase the criminal penalties and bulk up the RCMP and Border Services agencies' anti-smuggling operations. The jail terms for doing that have been increased from a maximum of 10 years to a maximum of 14 years. And there's also new offenses for altering cartridge magazines and depicting any violence of firearms in weapons. But I think the one of the big news items out of it, Derek, is the law will also allow cities, municipalities across the country to bring in bylaws that would basically ban handguns. Trudeau says he wants to give the cities that power with federal penalties and crimes. It's been a mixed reaction. Some mayors out on the West Coast have said they support it. The Alberta government hasn't supported it. In fact, they're moving full steam ahead with a member's bill to make it extremely difficult for cities to do that. And Saskatchewan Premier Moe says no chance also. He says there's only one gun law in the province, and that's their own, and he's not going to allow the feds to interfere. So certainly a lot of meat on it, Derek, a lot of discussion points.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. The provincial reaction to it is some of the most fascinating part of the story to me. Traditionally, the provinces have not exerted much of their constitutional influence in firearms policy, strangely enough, with the exception of Quebec, which was angry that the federal government under Stephen Harper did away with at least most aspects of the federal long gun registry, and Quebec wanted to keep it. And so they exerted some of their influence using their rightful jurisdiction to keep at least parts of the gun registry in place in Quebec. This is the first time, at least that I'm aware of, that that some of the provinces have pushed back in favor of legal firearms rights. This is the big thing here. So you've spoken about both Alberta and Saskatchewan on this front. Cory, give us your sense of what kind of tools do the provincial governments have, particularly Alberta and Saskatchewan, to push back against the federal gun ban here?
Well, I guess they got the courts. We could go in and they could start arguing about whether property or things such as that are under provincial jurisdiction. If it comes as a federal, it would be better to get a lawyer to speak to it almost, but a federal law, then, criminal law, then perhaps there's nothing the provinces could do with it. But it's just such a clumsy, cowardly way to try and get at these guns. Using the municipalities as their enforcement arm. I mean, if you're going to go after them, Trudeau, go after them. But this way, he's tossing it off to the municipal councils. And of course, we have seen across the country, we got some pretty flaky municipal leaders out there who would be more than happy. I heard Mayor Nenshi going on about how Calgary has a gun problem. That's news to me. But, this is old news. I mean, we've heard from police unions, things in the past, during the registry, prior to your time, Derek. But the crimes aren't being committed by law-abiding firearm owners. Registered handguns, they've been around registered for decades and decades. They can track this. That's not where the crimes are coming from. They're not coming from Grandpa's old duck gun in the basement, or even an SKS that looks scary, but really isn't, any more dangerous than another firearm. So this achieves nothing but harassing law-abiding Canadians, and they're just using a different arm to try and do it. And I see a real legal mess coming out of this.
Yeah, the municipal approach is quite strange. I know the federal NDP under Jack Layton used to talk about this. But here's the thing, and many people might not know this. Municipalities have no constitutional standing. They actually don't exist under the Canadian Constitution. They are creatures of the provinces. That's the only way they're described in the Constitution, the British North America Act. They are creatures of the provinces. The city of Calgary could theoretically the province of Alberta could theoretically dissolve the city of Calgary as a legal entity tomorrow and directly administer it. They could just literally have a minister of Calgary and run Calgary out of the premier's office. They would have every legal right to. Of course, there would be severe political ramifications to that, so they're unlikely to. But the federal government has no jurisdiction whatsoever over the provinces, over the municipalities. The municipalities are to the province as the army is to the federal government. This, in terms of the constitutional jurisdictions here, Ottawa has no more right to involve itself in municipalities as the Alberta government does to appoint the top general of the Canadian Army. It's simply not within its jurisdiction. So it's quite strange, and I think you're onto something here, Cory. They're trying to have it both ways politically. They know that banning guns is more popular in areas where people are less likely to have legal guns. And it's unpopular in an area where people are more likely to have legal guns. And there's very clearly people are more likely to own legal firearms outside of big cities. And so they want to do this municipally. It's a little different than how Canada did prohibition for a long time. Prohibition was delegated to the municipal level, and each municipality was able to decide for itself if they were going to make it illegal for people to drink beer or not. So it's a very typically Canadian way of trying to get around things, muddling the Constitution, muddling jurisdiction. But now you've got the provinces that are fighting back, at least two provinces that are fighting back, saying, no, this is our grounds. Dave, do you want to elaborate a bit on what's been proposed by the Alberta Justice Minister and Solicitor General, Casey Madhu?
Well, they're looking at bringing in their own firearms officer. They've been talking about that for a while now, so I would expect them to be moving on that even quicker now. A member of the legislature has introduced a bill that would basically make it not illegal, but very, very difficult for cities to bring in such bylaws. And they basically say the same thing you just mentioned, Derek, that the cities are, exist strictly because, as municipalities, strictly because of the province. And it's the province's rules that are going to take priority. And that's almost the exact same thing that Premier Scott Moe said today. So Casey Madhu, the Justice Minister, said they're going to expedite the bill and get it in as soon as possible. So, any talk that he's trying to bring in a ban may become premature very quickly.
Indeed. Okay, well, let's turn towards more. If Ottawa thinks it can manage, Ottawa thinks it can manage firearms very well, I think maybe they want to get the basics right first. Let's talk about the absolute cluster muck that is the vaccine procurement. Dave, why don't we go straight to you? Tell us what's the latest in the kind of bungling of procuring vaccines right now?
Well, a new poll out this week, Derek, shows that a huge number of Canadians now blame Trudeau for the fiasco that this has dissolved into. 3 months, only 23% of Canadians said it was the government's fault. Now a whopping 3 in 5, almost 60%, say it's the government's fault. And the pollsters basically say, Canadians are sitting back looking at other countries. The United Kingdom is, vaccinating hundreds of thousands of people a day. The United States, President Biden announced last night on TV that they've secured 600 million doses of the vaccine, and they say every United States citizen will be vaccinated by by July. Trudeau has promised September for Canadians, but there doesn't seem to be much confidence in his ability to deliver at the moment.
Yeah, Cory, so we've known this is a disaster for some time, but it now seems to be seeping through to the public beyond just kind of expert or elite opinion. Now Canadians are actually starting to sour on the federal government on this. They're actually starting to wear it. Do you think this is a big political problem for the Trudeau government, or is this just going to be another forgiven mishap?
I'm glad something's finally bloody sticking to them. But, I think this is a huge problem for them. I mean, it was clear they were already doing campaign kickoffs out east. They got their signs printed. They were leading in the polls. And I think they had every intention of going this spring to the polls to say, look at this. We saved Canada from the plague. We're heroes. Give us a majority so we can take over the recovery for the next 4 years and make everything better. And now look at the credibility. I mean, they're saying, okay, entrust us to put everything together for the next 4 years for this economic recovery when you can't even get vaccines out. You've dropped the ball on what's the biggest issue of a generation, and it's a disaster for them. Now, I still fear, in my view, I think there's going to be a spring election. We're going to see the natural drop in infections just due to the weather, as we've been seeing, and learning about this virus. But I mean, a lot of people, if they're hoping for a final end on this, I know there's people debate whether or not there should be vaccines or whatever, but the majority feel a vaccine is the way out of it. And to put it bluntly, if the government can't get the vaccines into our arms, they're absolutely good for nothing. So, yeah, this is a big problem.
Derek, I'm going to disagree with Cory a little bit. I think this is bad enough for the Liberals to postpone any plans of a spring election, and here's why. Canadians look at Trudeau's scandals in the past, the blackface.
No, looks like we might have a
the luxury vacation that he go on. But those scandals don't affect the average Canadian. They just look at it, shake their head, and go about their business. But this is affecting every single Canadian. Everybody's got an elderly relative that still hasn't had their shot yet. Everybody, it's affecting everybody, and it's affecting everybody's way of life until these vaccines get administered. And the rate that Canada seems to be moving on it, I think we're now looking into 2022 before things get figured out.
This has obviously got a more real-world impact on people than, say, blackface or the Aga Khan Island vacation getaways and things like that. Although those tend to be more understandable by people, but this has got a real-world impact. We've discussed before here, I think, at the Western Standard, we're in pretty broad agreement, vaccines should not be mandatory. But for those of us who do believe in vaccines, they're absolutely critical to getting things back open, getting back to some level of normality. We're now facing the likely prospect that the United States is going to be back to normal, that Europe is going to be back to normal, Japan, Korea, other advanced countries will all be back to normal and reopen, while Canadians are still going to be under one form or another of a lockdown with severe COVID restrictions. And we're going to be asking why. And I think Cory's right. I think the Liberals had every intention of either engineering their defeat in Parliament or calling an election directly themselves to try and get that majority government. They've been looking around at every other government in Canada that's had an election during the pandemic: British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and I think it was either Nova Scotia or New Brunswick. They all saw minority governments move to huge majority governments, or in the case of Saskatchewan, a majority government retain its majority status. The Liberals were looking at that, licking their lips. I'm sure Doug Ford was licking his lips, but they have a fixed election date that's hard for majority government to justify breaking, unless you're in Alberta, of course. And they wanted to go, but this has been a complete disaster. They're now starting to wear it, and so I think we're gonna. There is a chance of a spring election. I think it's highly unlikely now. I think the Liberals want to avoid one at this time. And this puts Jagmeet Singh and the NDP in a powerful negotiating position to extract policy concessions. We could see, if you're scared of what the Liberals have done so far, just wait till Parliament comes back and Jagmeet Singh is in the driver's seat and he gets to demand concessions from the Liberals in exchange for keeping them afloat in Parliament. It could be quite interesting, to say the least. Okay, well, speaking of interesting, we're going to turn our attention to British Columbia. I think it's they've got a bit of a footloose, small town attitude right now towards having fun. Dave, tell us about the BC Karaoke crackdown.
Feelings, nothing more than feelings.
Wow, that was good.
Apparently, the RCMP in Richmond have found people that can sing worse than me, believe it or not. They busted up 2 karaoke parties over the weekend, handing out thousands and thousands of dollars of fines, because currently it is illegal to sing publicly in British Columbia under their pandemic regulations. So RCMP said on Saturday about 1 a.m. They busted a bar at the local mall and observed a whole bunch of people in there. 34 people and staff got $230 tickets each. Manager receiving a ticket for $2,300. And the very next day, Sunday at 2 a.m., they went to another premise in Richmond, and they heard people singing, heaven forbid. So they moved in and shut it all down. 21 people got a $230 ticket, and the organizer on scene got a $2,300 ticket. RCMP say they will continue to crack down on public gatherings and karaoke, and they're urging people to snitch. If you spot a party or you spot somebody singing in public, they want you to call them right away. So, taking it to another level, Derek.
Cory, people going to jail or being fined for preaching services in church or singing karaoke. Pro or con?
It's just the arbitrary nature of this. They honestly seem to target things where people actually enjoy themselves. They just do not. They want us to remain miserable and hunker down. And I tell you, it's going to have a really bad long-term consequence. And I mean, this reminds me of last summer. There was a couple of communities that did outdoor drive-in movies to try and have something where people could go. They'd sit in their vehicles. They wouldn't interact with others. And guess what? The police broke that up too. It doesn't matter if it's spreading the virus. It seems to matter if it's spreading joy. And people are getting sick and tired of it. I almost want to see more of these crackdowns because maybe it'll be enough to wake some people up to get up and start pushing back because the infections are going down. This is ridiculous. Show some proof that this is a problem or piss off.
Yeah, I know in Brooks in southern Alberta, they allowed some drive-in movies there, kind of old-time drive-in movies. They were distanced, and people sat with their windows rolled up. Yet a couple of Karens in the town in the city complained, and it got shut down. Similarly, I know there's been drive-in church services where people have driven up, sat in their cars with the windows closed, yet the police are sent to break it up as if they're having, they're just having too much fun. There is a health dimension to it, but I think it's been far overshadowed now by the control dimension. And I think you're bang on, Cory. This is just about keeping us miserable at this point. It's clearly far beyond any original health objectives that there might have been. Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up there today. Grateful for all you for joining. We're trying to get, we're upping our operations. As I mentioned before, we now have a soft paywall in place. I know some of you might not like it, but if we're not going to take government subsidies, we have to act as a business here. We have to pay people to do their work. We have to pay to have great people writing for us, having people producing content. If you like having independent, non-government funded Western media, please sign up as a member. If you're already a member and you're having any trouble logging in, send us an email, membership@westernstandardonline.com. We will help you out. We've got a great team that'll help you through it, making sure that you can enjoy the benefits of being a member. Again, we want to thank our sponsor, karensway.com, massage therapy in Calgary. It's a great way to unwind during all this madness. You can still go and unwind a bit. Thank you all very much for joining. Dave, Cory, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. God bless.